Welcome to Luxury Ascension, a space devoted to redefining wealth, worth, and well-being from the inside out. In today's episode, we're moving from survival mode to expansion mode, so you can stop living like life is chasing you and start living from vision. Let's redefine luxury, one intentional choice at a time. You ever notice how some people never actually live? They survive. That's it. Wake up stressed, move through life tense, always reacting, always recovering, always waiting for something to go wrong. Their nervous system becomes their entire personality, and after a while, they mistake survival mode for ambition. But survival mode and expansion mode are two completely different frequencies. Survival mode says, don't lose. Expansion mode says, what else is possible? And most people never cross that bridge because nobody taught them how to stop living like life is chasing them. See, survival mode isn't always obvious. Sometimes it looks like overworking. Sometimes it looks like hyper-independence. Sometimes it looks like constantly checking your phone, constantly explaining yourself, constantly proving yourself, constantly feeling behind. You're moving, but not expanding. You're exhausted because your entire existence has become maintenance, just keeping yourself afloat. And the dangerous part? You can survive for so long that peace starts to feel unfamiliar. Silence feels suspicious. Rest feels lazy. Happiness feels temporary. So even when opportunities appear, you self-sabotage them because chaos became home. Expansion mode is different. Expansion mode begins the moment you realize you were never meant to spend your whole life emotionally barricaded. It's when you stop making decisions from fear and start making them from vision. Different energy, different posture, different standards. Because survival asks, how do I make it through this? Expansion asks, how far can I actually go? And here's the truth nobody says out loud. Some people don't fear failure, they fear expansion. Because expansion requires identity death. You cannot become elevated while remaining psychologically attached to the version of you built for survival. That version of you was necessary once, but now it's suffocating your future. The constant stress, the scarcity mindset, the emotional guarding, the inability to receive, the obsession with control, all survival mechanisms, useful in war, destructive in peace. A lot of people say they want abundance, but their nervous system is addicted to survival. They don't know how to function without pressure, without anxiety, without emotional instability. So the moment life becomes calm, they create problems. Because expansion requires emotional spaciousness. It requires trust, clarity, stillness. And most people have never experienced stillness long enough to hear themselves think. That's why elevation changes everything. When you start ascending, your environment changes, your conversations change, your habits change, your relationship with time changes. You stop rushing. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to save everyone. And for the first time in your life, you realize peace is productive. Because the clearer your mind becomes, the farther your vision reaches. Expansion mode is waking up without immediate dread. It's entering rooms without shrinking yourself. It's investing in your future instead of constantly repairing your past. It's traveling farther, thinking bigger, moving slower, living better. Not because you became arrogant, but because you finally stopped surviving long enough to see your actual potential. And maybe that's the real tragedy of survival mode. Not the pain, the limitation. Because survival mode convinces powerful people to live small. It makes visionaries play defense. Creators think minimally. Dreamers settle for stability. All because their mind never left the battlefield. But expansion? Expansion is reclaiming your life. Expansion is understanding that luxury is not just aesthetics. Luxury is nervous system regulation. Luxury is having options, time, freedom, mental clarity, space to think, space to breathe, space to evolve. That's real wealth. And the moment you realize you no longer have to operate from fear, everything changes. Your relationships change, your money changes, your energy changes, your standards change. Because now you're no longer asking life for permission to exist. You're building a reality that reflects your value. So if you've been feeling disconnected lately, tired lately, restless lately, maybe your soul is no longer compatible with survival mode. Maybe you've outgrown the frequency of constant struggle. Maybe it's time to stop living like every day is an emergency. Because there's another version of you waiting on the other side of this. Calmer, sharper, more intentional, more powerful. Not because life became easier, but because you finally stopped approaching life like you were meant to suffer through it. This is your reminder. You were not born just to survive the world. You were born to expand inside it. And once your mind truly understands that, there is no going back. Because now you begin noticing things you were too exhausted to see before. You notice how survival mode trained you to expect disappointment, how it taught you to celebrate bare minimum progress because you were constantly in recovery mode. You notice how many of your habits weren't actually personality traits. They were trauma responses dressed up as discipline. The overthinking, the emotional detachment, the inability to relax, the fear of slowing down, the need to constantly earn rest. That wasn't power, that was conditioning. And the hardest part about leaving survival mode is accepting that nobody is coming to rescue you from it. No magical moment, no overnight transformation, no sudden arrival. Expansion is built deliberately, quietly, through repeated decisions that retrain your mind to believe life can be more than struggle. Because understand this, your environment shapes your nervous system. If you constantly consume chaos, you will emotionally become chaos. If every conversation is negative, every room is heavy, every habit is draining, your body will stay in defense mode no matter how ambitious you are. That's why elevation sometimes requires separation. Not because you hate people, but because you finally love your future enough to protect it. Expansion begins with subtraction. Less noise, less urgency, less proving, less attachment to people who only understand the survival version of you. Because some people only know how to relate to your wounds. And the moment you begin healing, the connection weakens. That's normal. Not everybody is meant to ascend with you. And this is where most people collapse back into survival mode, loneliness, because growth can feel isolating before it becomes empowering. When you stop participating in dysfunction, you temporarily lose familiarity. The old conversations stop resonating. The old coping mechanisms stop numbing you. The old identity starts dying. And for a moment, you feel emotionally homeless. But that space, that uncomfortable in-between, that's where expansion is born. Because now you finally have room to rebuild yourself intentionally. Not from panic, not from scarcity, not from emotional survival, but from vision. So how do you actually move into expansion mode? First, you stop glorifying exhaustion. Being constantly overwhelmed is not a badge of honor. Rest is not weakness. Stillness is not laziness. Your clarity increases when your nervous system is no longer under attack. Second, you start making decisions based on your future identity instead of your current fear. Ask yourself, what would the expanded version of me choose right now? Not the scared version, not the wounded version, not the survival version, the elevated version. The version of you that already understands their value. That question alone will change your life. Third, you must learn to tolerate peace. And that sounds simple until you realize how uncomfortable peace feels to people addicted to chaos. Expansion requires emotional regulation. You cannot build an abundant life while emotionally reacting to everything. Every inconvenience cannot become a crisis. Every delay cannot become despair. You have to become internally stable enough to hold the life you're asking for. And fourth, you need vision bigger than your current circumstances. Because survival mode traps your focus in the present moment. bills, stress, problems, pressure. Expansion reconnects you to imagination, to possibility, to long-term thinking. That's why wealthy mindsets feel different. They think in decades, not disasters. And maybe that's the shift right there. Survival mode asks, how do I survive this month? Expansion mode asks, what kind of life am I building over the next 10 years? That's a completely different frequency, different emotional posture, different energy. And once you enter that mindset, you stop chasing temporary relief. You start building permanent transformation. You become more intentional with your time, more selective with your energy, more disciplined with your focus. Not because you became cold, but because you finally understand that your attention creates your reality. And slowly, your life starts changing. You breathe differently. You think differently. You carry yourself differently. The anxiety that once controlled you begins losing authority. The desperation fades. The need to constantly prove yourself disappears. Because expansion creates internal security, and internal security changes everything. You stop entering rooms hoping to be accepted. You enter rooms deciding whether they deserve your presence. You stop begging for opportunities. You become the opportunity. You stop trying to convince people to see your worth. You embody it so fully that it becomes undeniable. That is ascension, not perfection, alignment. And the beautiful part is, once you leave survival mode, you realize life was never meant to feel like constant punishment. There is beauty here. There is abundance here. There is softness here. There is luxury in slowing down enough to finally experience your own life. Because real expansion is not just external success, it's internal freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from constant emotional warfare. Freedom from becoming smaller just to survive environments that were never worthy of you. And maybe today, that journey begins with something simple, a decision. A decision to stop identifying with struggle. A decision to stop romanticizing suffering. A decision to believe that your future can hold more than survival. Because it can. And deep down, you already know it. If this message met you at the exact moment you needed it, don't let it pass through you like background noise. Choose one decision today that comes from vision instead of fear. One boundary, one standard, one quiet, powerful choice that tells your nervous system, we are safe to expand. If you want more videos like this, subscribe and share this with someone who's been carrying life like a constant emergency. Let's redefine luxury, one intentional choice at a time. Until next time, peace and love.